All right, hi everyone. Welcome to the March edition of the Video Vert Alert. I'm Oliver Lavery, the Director of Security Research and Development at nCircle.
And I'm Tyler Reguly, Technical Manager of Security Research.
Right on. Well, it's a pretty quiet one this month, Tyler.
Yeah, 3 bulletins, 4 CVs.
Yep, 1 critical and a couple of importance. Well, we might as well get through them here. So the first one and the most critical is MS11-015, vulnerabilities in Windows Media Code. Windows Media could allow remote code execution.
Yeah, so we got 2 vulnerabilities in this one. One of them is a DLL preloading attack. We'll see that again this month with both other bullet advisories. And the other one, which is the critical one, is the Microsoft Digital Video recording format, like DVR-MS, where a malicious file could lead to code execution.
And that's exploitable via the web. So if you browse to one of these files on a web server,
you could potentially browse to it and be exploited. Yes.
So it's not as minor as a preloading attack.
Yeah.
So now the other 2, which I guess we can talk about together, are MS11-017, the vulnerability in a remote desktop client could cause remote code execution, and MS11-016, vulnerability in Microsoft Groove, same thing. And they're both preloading attacks, right?
Yeah, both preloading, and it's old news at this point.
Yeah, well, we could talk just quickly about what a preloading attack means.
Yeah, go ahead.
Fair enough, okay. So Windows searches a DLL search path whenever it needs to look for a DLL. That can happen occasionally when you're opening a file, and the DLL needs to be loaded into the process. And the same directory as a file, or the current working directory, is usually in that search path. So if you open up a file from a Windows share, or potentially a WebDAV share, which is a little bit more severe, where there's a DLL that the process wants to load, hosted as well, it'll load that copy of the DLL and actually execute code from it. So you can basically do any kind of remote code execution. But I mean, the major mitigating factor is that you have to get a user to browse to a file share or a WebDAV share, neither of which is very common in most scenarios, and open up generally a fairly obscure file type.
Yeah, you'd really hope that in the enterprise, most enterprises are blocking you from accessing SMB over the internet, browsing out to a WebDAV share.
Right, exactly. I mean, as a threat vector internally, or for an enterprise, it's internal. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a possibility that someone malicious in the company could set up a fairly complex attack where you've got to build a DLL that kind of matches the layout and exported function structure of a real legitimate DLL, and host it somewhere, and host a file somewhere, and convince someone to open up something like a Groove document. It's just not really that big a deal. In fact, this has kind of been known about in Windows for a really, really long time, and it's only recent that people even started really calling it a vulnerability, and it's legitimate that it is a vulnerability. But
yeah, and for anyone who's overly concerned, there was a non-security update that you can apply that allows you to remove the current working directory from the DLL search order.
Yeah, which is a very good point, and it really doesn't break that much software, some like third-party apps. So there were a couple of other things we wanted to talk about this week too, Tyler, like this MHTML thing, which has been around for quite a while now.
Yeah, still no patch this month, but there is a fix-it available. If you go to the advisory, there's a download link to the fix-it in there, which locks down the MHTML protocol and essentially mitigates any risk of vulnerability.
And just to provide the background, MHTML, that's like a 0-day IE,
yeah,
which is exploitable by browsing to a web page.
Yes.
Right. And it's been known about for what, 3 months now?
I can't think of when it first came out, but it's been a little while.
Just around the beginning of the year, I think. But yeah, it's been floating around for a while, and Microsoft still hasn't issued a patch, which is peculiar.
Yeah, but I mean, the fix-it serves its purpose, and you can push out a fix-it across an enterprise. So
yeah, that's true. For enterprise, it's a good solution. And then the other issue you were talking about was the malware engine.
Yeah, Microsoft Malware Protection Engine came out the last week of February, the 22nd, 23rd, I think it was. Microsoft posted the advisory. And there will not be a bulletin released for it. The engine just gets updated when you update your AV signatures, so the update was pushed out that way. The update's already available. If you're running the latest version of the signatures and the malware protection engine, you've probably already got it. In the advisory, they tell you what file to check and how to check that version to see if you're patched.
It's a fairly severe vulnerability, right?
Yeah, it's, I believe, potential remote code execution or potential code execution, so It's like almost every other Microsoft vulnerability.
Yeah,
They all get
exactly.
labeled the same way.
At this
so.
point, yeah. So I mean, that's an important thing to call out, that people should probably verify in an enterprise that this has been deployed through automatic updates of the anti-malware products.
Yeah, most of these products update themselves, so.
Yeah. But not always in an enterprise context, right? Sometimes they disable automatic updates. So if you have, it's definitely something to be aware of, and you should verify that this is applied to machines, because it's severe, and strangely there's no sort of official bulletin for it.
Yeah, just the advisory.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it for another month.
Yeah, it was a pretty quiet one, so.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, just wrap it up and go home. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.